Hey, if you're hearing a lot of background stuff this week through these podcasts, I think I told you on Monday or the beginning of the week that there's a big rainstorm happening. I'm in South Florida. It rains all the time. I can't not record because it's raining, because it feels like every day it's raining. So just if you're hearing it, don't freak out. There's probably not rain around you, but there's rain around me. This week, I've been talking to you about how you were formed for God's family, and that you, being a child of God, were called to belong to a local church, not just to believe in Jesus, but to belong to a local church. And we've looked at how the church is the family of God and the church is the body of Christ. Today, I want to give you one more picture of what the church is, and it's one that just really excites my imagination. In Matthew, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus in Matthew 5:14 says, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who's in heaven." So Jesus calls his followers the light of the world. We're to be the light of the world. Not one individual light, but collectively a light. And I think there's a really incredible illustration for this. If you happen to have access to a computer or your phone, Google a satellite image of the Korean Peninsula at nighttime. I'm looking at one of those right now, and from space, a picture of the Korean Peninsula at nighttime is just a vast difference in these two countries. And there's so many illustrations from it. North Korea is one of the most spiritually dark places on earth. North Korea is ruled by a dictator. Many of the Christians in North Korea are in prison camps. But North Korea is also incredibly economically backward. And when you look at North Korea from a satellite from space at nighttime, nearly the entire nation is in the dark. There's just a tiny little blip of light. South Korea, which is on the same peninsula, populated by Koreans, the same race, the same people group. South Korea is a democracy, but even more than that, South Korea has one of the highest percentages of Christians in the world. Did you know that South Korea sends out the second most number of missionaries behind the United States in the world? Additionally, South Korea is one of the most economically advanced countries in the world. And when you look at a picture of South Korea from space, especially next to North Korea, almost the entire nation of South Korea is lit up, especially around Seoul. It's so bright, it massively illuminates from space. North Korea is almost completely in the dark. South Korea, a collection of individual lights, makes the entire nation glow from space, from a satellite image in space. And when Jesus talks about the church, it says that we're the light of the world. We're a city on the hill. So I live in a little town, and my church is a community in that town. Now, my church is a city, but my town is a city, but my church is a city within a city. And what's really cool is we have different values than the average citizen of our town. We have different ways that we operate and that we meet together. But our being together makes a massive impact on our local community. Especially in my city with my church, the foster and adoptive system is radically different. We have students from 20 different middle and high schools that are a part of our church, and they have a community, and they are more mentally healthy. They are more academically healthy on the whole, and they have a much higher level of community service than the average student at school. Being together makes us better, but it doesn't just make us better. It makes us stand out as like a city within a city. And that's what the church of God's supposed to be. We have different values than those around us, and sometimes people are going to get mad at you. Sometimes they're going to call you toxic because you have moral values. But as they see that your moral values are shared with other believers, and that you love people, that you care for people, that you sacrifice and are willing to serve people, that people are better when they're around you, you become that light on a hill. You become that city within a city. The believers in a school should be a light to that school. The believers on a campus should be a light to that campus. The believers in a military should be a light in the military. And the believers in a local church should really be a city within a city. And so as we think about that, and you think about you're called to belong, you're part of the family of God, you're part of the body of Christ, and your body of Christ is a city within a city, Question is this: how much better is your community because of your church? How much better is your community because of your church? How is your community seeing Jesus because of the existence of your church? That's a question I want to leave you with today. If you're listening to this podcast with somebody else, how about you guys talk about that? And if the answer is, I don't know, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to be light to your community as you seek to honor Jesus? That's your challenge for today. Maybe go into Sunday and talk about it at church and be the light of the world for Jesus. Have a great weekend.